Hello, everyone. We're so glad that you join us for this podcast. We got such incredible feedback from the 20 minutes sharing on state of manhood. And at Encounter, we are so committed to making sure we build great men. We believe when men are better, society is better, women are better, children are better. And so now we're going to continue with our second podcast, bouncing off the state of manhood. We want to have a discussion. And in a studio today, I have one of my good friends, one of the men I have known forever. We've done life together. So, Gusta, you a man. Introduce yourself.
Thank you, Pastor. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Gusta. I am a man and very proud, very passionate about men. I'm also a father and, of course, a husband.
Yeah.
Over 10 years of happy marriage, and it's a pleasure for me to be on the podcast and share my heart with the other men out there.
So, Gusta, we had an incredible discussion when I thought about the state of manhood, what is happening in society today. And we looked at men are absent. Men are absent, and as a result of men being absent, we have many of our households that are led by moms. So what has been your experience? What do you think about that stat? Over 28% of the households are led by women.
Thank you, Pastor. Actually, looking up at stats, I discovered the stats are even bigger than that. I was looking at statistics I didn't know there was actually a national association of single people, of single parents.
Yeah.
That association put it at about 50%.
Wow.
Of households are being led by single parents.
Wow.
And most of these are actually single mothers.
Yeah.
There are very few single fathers. Most of them, the households are being led by single mothers.
Yeah.
And I think, from my observation, I think that men have been overwhelmed to an extent.
Yes.
There are definitely a number of factors why men are absent, but one of them is that the men have not understood their responsibility and have not appreciated that we are called to finish. We are called to start things and finish them.
Yes.
We are called to hang in there.
Yes.
We are called to endure. That's what we are as men.
That's true.
Because what makes us strong is actually endurance.
Yes.
When you look at metal, what makes metal strong is heat.
It's heat.
So for us to be the men that we are called to be, we must endure the heat.
That is in the marriage.
Yes. What happens is that a lot of men run away when it gets hot.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that has caused us a lot of problems to cause absent families.
So you've brought on a good element. Men run away. Have you had an experience of that? For me, growing up, my dad didn't run away, but he was present but not present. You know, there's that aspect.
Yes.
He's present, but he's not present. Now, for you, I know there's a story behind that. What was yours? Was he absent? Was he present? Not present?
So, my father was absent. I'll put it bluntly.
Yeah.
My father was absent for most of my life.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever got an opportunity to live with both my parents.
Wow.
I lived with my mother most of my earliest childhood.
Yeah.
And then later came to start living with my father alone.
Wow.
And I can put pen to what caused the absence of my father.
Yeah.
So my father is still polygamous.
Yes.
So was polygamous then. So while he shared with me some of the reasons why he was absent, because I did ask him a couple of years back, I think one of the reasons he doesn't tell me is because he had a fallback. So my father was absent from my mother's side because there was another wife. And so he was comfortable where he was. So that is one of the reasons why men are absent, because they are somewhere else with another woman.
So was mommy giving him hard time because you said they ran away because of the heat?
Or was
it responsibility?
I think the heat that I meant is responsibility.
It was responsibility.
Yes, because being a man comes with a lot on your shoulder.
Yes.
You must be in position. And that's why we say that you must understand what it means to be a man.
Yes.
And not just be a male. Because not all male people are actually men.
Man.
So you see, my father had responsibilities for the other family and also my side. And one of the reasons I think why he stepped back from my mother's side, because my mother was a career woman and was able to look after us.
Look after you
and
guys.
so my father abdicated that responsibility.
Yes.
It was his responsibility to look after my mother and look after us.
You as children.
But because he knew my mother was working, my mother is a retired midwife, so she had a job as midwife and was earning and was able to work hard to take us to school and feed us.
Yes.
So my father stepped away because that responsibility had been
Someone
taken.
else was taking care of it.
Exactly.
Wow. And you've said that we are seeing that almost 50% of the households are being led by single
Mothers.
men.
Yes.
And that's a big one.
That's huge.
That's a big one. We have also seen the state of manhood currently that most young men are not committed in relationships. They are not. And so what has happened is we're having many young ladies who are saying, Pastor, I want to be single. All I want is a child. If you can give me a child, I'll take care of my child. So there's that rise in single young ladies that are coming up, and relationships are not being committed. The fire you talked about, man, that endurance is not there now. At least endurance means you're already in the fire. But now they don't even want to get into the fire. What is your take on that? What is happening? What are the statistics around that?
So Pastor, I know that there is a lot of conversation around the complexities on the woman side, but that's not what we are here to talk about. We are here to talk about men.
Yes.
So I'm going to focus on the men.
Yes.
I think that one of the critical things that we are missing out on the men's side is preparation. Is preparation, is mentorship on the side of the man.
Yeah.
I think that we have not had deliberate effort to craft men and mentor them and groom them to be the men that they should be.
Yes.
And to be able to prepare them for endurance, the endurance that I talked about. So a lot of men go into it half-baked, ill-prepared, clueless. And when they get there, they have watched movies and they have read things about what happens, and what they find is not exactly what it is.
Yeah.
There's also been a conversation around how much women have been empowered vis-a-vis the men.
The men.
And we have a lot of program. There's been a lot of effort in this particular country.
Yes.
Where we have lots of organizations, lots of groups that are towards the girl child, towards the women. But there is very little. And that's why I'm very excited about this particular program.
Yeah.
Because this is an opportunity to fill that gap.
Yes.
This is an opportunity to speak in the lives of men and elevate them to the level they should be, to be able to play their role.
Yes.
Their God-given role of leadership, to be able to take up the responsibilities and be able to play the role they are supposed to play, both as fathers, as husbands, and as brothers.
Yes.
Because it starts right there.
Yes.
You're born with the sisters, your leadership as a man starts at that level.
That's true.
Sometimes you also have to play the role of your father. There's a lot of young men who take up responsibilities in their absence of their fathers, either by natural causes or other reasons. They play that responsibility. So it starts way earlier than some men think.
So when we look at, there's a lot of complaining. Men are not committed to relationships. And we see it. You can see in an average church or even community. If you say, how many ladies want to get married? You'll find a lot of people putting up their hands. Pastor, we want to get married. If you asked the same question, how many men want to get married? You'll hardly see. In fact, we're going to have a singles function at church. And some of the young ladies came and said, but Pastor, when you called the singles to come, I realized that almost 80% were ladies. We had very few men. So why is it that we are having a large number of, yes, there's a lack of mentorship, but why is it that it's so huge that men these days don't want to commit? The man is 30, the man is 45. He doesn't just want to commit to a relationship.
So I want to talk about two things. I want to start with the again the lack of mentorship that creates some discomfort and
Yeah.
intimidation.
Yeah.
I have talked to young ladies, and this is what they've told me. I work, as you know, with debate, and in debate we have many young people, both boys and girls.
Yeah.
I have talked to girls, and girls have told me that my boys need to step up, that my boys are slow. Actually, recently, there's a young lady who just graduated from law school
Yeah.
that reached out to me and told me, Daddy, we need to have a conversation.
Yeah.
I have dated 3 boys, but we can hardly sustain a conversation with these boys.
Whoa.
And these are boys that have graduated
So
like her.
not even money, but
No.
conversation.
Conversation.
Men, conversation. Uh-huh.
So the girls, as I said, are up there.
Yeah.
And the boys are timid. But there's also a lot of pressure from society that these young men are afraid to step out and venture out.
Yes.
Because of the competition and struggle for success that we are all seeing, the things they see on TV, because these girls want like proposals that are made in Hollywood, and after that, the lot of things and demands that come with it.
Yeah.
So they kind of pull back.
Yes.
They kind of pull back because feel they are not prepared.
They're not prepared. Yeah.
For that. So I think that's one of the challenges that is happening in society now.
But I also think there is the aspect of we've not seen it being modeled. If your dad was not around, my dad was not around, John's dad was not around, so monkey see, monkey do. In your mind, you're thinking, okay, if daddy was not committed to mommy, why should I be committed to mommy? And I think that also brings that extra pressure and not understanding how do you do it, which goes back to mentorship.
Yeah.
But also we've had a rise, Gusta, in the feminist agenda. Now, we all know that the feminist agenda started well. They wanted to advocate for the ladies, the rights of women, making sure women go to school, making sure they have given equal rights at home, making sure they're treated with dignity, no domestic violence. And all those things, by the way, were great things. They were great things. They were fighting a noble cause.
Yeah.
But then we've seen a drift. When you see an average feminist now, the issue is we don't need men. Gusta is they demean you. When they see strong men, they complain. So the whole agenda has turned against the man. They're so negative, so pessimistic. They're anti-man, whatever man does, I do. Why are men engineers? Why are men? So there's a lot of pushback on a man. And so what I've seen then, men become very discouraged. Men have given up on their dreams. Men no longer fight a noble fight. Men were created to fight for what matters. That we're no longer doing that. We've laid back. Okay, men are getting married by women are marrying them. So we're seeing that agenda more from what it ought to have been to what it is now. What has been your experience? What do you think about that feminist agenda and it morphing and having an effect on boys and men?
Thank you very much, Pastor. First of all, I want to put a disclaimer here.
Yeah,
I am a father of 2 beautiful daughters.
yes.
My wife is a woman.
Yes.
My mother is also a woman.
So
I love women.
Yes.
So I don't want people to misunderstand me. You're right. So the affirmative action was good.
Yes.
And we've seen a lot of results.
Yeah.
Plenty of results.
Yes.
I mean, right now, look, we have the Speaker of Parliament is a woman, we have the Prime Minister is a woman, the Vice President is a woman. So you can see. A lot
Minister of Health is a woman.
So we have a lot of women placed in
Yes.
good places.
Yes.
But I also like the contribution this has done to elevate and add value to a woman.
Absolutely.
That the woman at the
100%.
lowest level has risen. There's a lot
Absolutely.
of programs for women. The banks are now having special interest rates for women. There's just so
The
much for
schools,
women.
University.
Exactly. So even jobs, they say women are particularly encouraged to apply. So there is a lot for women, and that is good.
Yes.
That is very good. However, there has been a bit of a negative narrative that has been advanced to, package men as objects, as devils, package men as in a collective pool.
Yes.
As bad people, as people who are there to make women suffer. Which is very, very bad. And that has worked on the psyche of many young ladies who think that men are bad, that everything associated with men is bad. The stories, the success stories of good and happy families with husbands and wives and children are not really being brought out.
That's true.
As much.
That's true.
The stories that are being told is of domestic violence.
Yes.
You saw in COVID, the only stories we were reading were
being battered.
Like those are the things we see on TV.
Yeah.
We do not see successful families, happy families being put out there. It's
true.
more like the African story that is projected to the Western world.
Absolutely.
That is exactly what we are seeing.
Yes.
And I think that is very unfortunate.
Yes.
So for us as men, there's one particular thing that I also want to talk about, the legal regime. So the legal regime is a lot against men.
That's true.
One of the reasons why men have decided to pull back and sit back is that a lot of things are against them.
Absolutely.
Today, if your woman takes you to police,
you're done,
and says you beat them, even when you didn't beat them,
you're crucified.
Before they listen to your side of the story, you go in. And the chances that you'll win that are very, very slim.
Absolutely.
There's going to be like 20 women organizations that are going to come against you.
Yes.
And no single men organization is going to come.
I love the legal part. I have one of my men, they had issues in the marriage, and so the woman actually pushed. The woman cheated. The woman was not faithful. But when the woman went to court, because she took the case to the court, guess who they sided with? They sided with the woman. Before even they heard about the man, they said, no. Now the man is thinking, okay, what have I done? And the woman gave the narrative, said, this man has not looked after my family. He has not looked after the children. He has not looked after me. The man came to my office and told me, Pastor, all the money I used to get, I would hand it over to the woman. Now the man was confused. Should I have asked for a receipt? So that then the court can now use to give the money. So that legal part of it, and it has created men to back away, to just say, you know what, I'm going to be guilty. In fact, I always tell you as men, never touch a woman. Never do it. Because it doesn't matter how justified, unjustified, you will lose the battle. Never shout. Because when the woman comes and says, you shouted at me, everyone will say, it's true, Gusta, you did it. And that has made men to draw back.
And Pastor, the women know it. So the women know that cut. And they will confront you. They will
aggressively.
Fight. Exactly. And like you said, we flee. To be safe, we flee. But there's also, the feminist agenda has also tried to push a narrative that marriage is not a litmus test for success.
Yes.
That it's not. That for you to be successful, like marriage does not complement you in any way. And then, of course, you talked about the new technologies that have come, that you can actually be a mother without being a wife. You can actually be a mother without being a wife.
Very demonic.
Exactly. And there's also been, I have heard, I think I shared this with you a few days ago, of a young lady who is a banker who asked a young man to make her pregnant, and they would pay him.
Wow.
She was willing to pay the young man to make her pregnant, and as soon as she gets pregnant, it was supposed to end right there. Because she has the money to look after the child, and so young women think that you don't need a man.
Yes.
All you need is your money.
Yes.
You get pregnant, you have a child, and that's it.
And for me,
so
the lie,
the fathering.
Yes, the fathering. You see, it continues to propagate. It's a very demonic approach, because when you demean marriage, husband and wife, what happens is you raise a son alone. That son grows up to become a teenager and he's rebelling. And then the cycle continues of fatherlessness. The cycle continues of a man, because it takes a man to raise a what? A man. So because now you're a woman, you don't know how to raise a son, so you're going to raise someone who is not a man. And then the cycle of the pain and the agony continues. And that's the work of the enemy.
Yeah.
I can tell you guys that I have not met a 60-year-old man or woman who is happily married and he tells you, not even happily, who is married and he tells you, I made a mistake to get married. Marriage is so key. Marriage is so foundational. Marriage brings us together. It's a core of society. In fact, once you destroy that, you've destroyed everything. Yeah. You've destroyed society. So I'm glad that you brought out that. Now let's talk about the neglect of the boy child, because we all know you have already had a preamble on that. Boys are not being raised. Boys are being raised by moms. And I want to say something to the moms there. Thank you so much for investing in the boys. But this is the disclaimer I have. It takes a man to raise a fellow man. So the neglect of the boy child. What is your take on that? What's happening in your world, especially you're in the debate club, and I saw you with a lot of young men. What are you seeing among young men?
So my observation again is there is a very significant gap. The young men don't seem to have people they talk to.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have deliberate and well-organized groups.
Yeah.
I have been thinking myself of supporting the young men that I work around with, because my interaction with individual young men reveals quite a lot.
Yes.
The young men are trying out a lot of things, some of them very dangerous.
Yes.
And I know we are going to be talking about teenage pregnancies, and we'll be linking that.
Yes.
They are trying out a lot of things to discover themselves.
That's true.
Because they don't understand what manhood is about.
Yes.
They don't understand, and they have not been guided to help them, define who a man is. So they try out many things. They are trying out masturbation, pornography, they are doing sex parties, and they think that these are the things that actually make them men.
Yes.
Unfortunately, these things are destroying the men.
Absolutely.
So unfortunately, this is the foundation the young men are getting.
Yeah.
And when they get into a higher level, when they get into a commitment, a marriage commitment with that background, they crumble.
Yes.
They automatically crumble.
Yes.
Because they are not grounded.
Yes,
because their foundations are very weak.
Absolutely.
They have not been mentored. They have not been supported to understand the values, to understand the things that they need to, the steps they need to walk into manhood.
Yes.
So they crumble easily. And because the young women have been supported, even just before they get into marriage, programs.
Of course.
Yeah, the mothers will sit down with their daughters.
Yes,
the pastors.
Everyone is sitting
exactly. Just like you said that when you call single people, the girls show up.
Yes. Confident.
And the boys don't show up.
They don't show up.
Because of this societal perspective that we, as men, we figure out things.
Yes. You just grow. You'll handle.
So I think we need to have deliberate efforts to support young men.
Yes.
Even big men. By the way, you see, we've taught in our men's class that manhood has no age.
No.
So you can be a male person, aged 50.
Yes.
But not a man.
Not a man.
That's true. You can have a 16-year-old boy
who is a man. 100%.
So I think when we are talking about manhood and supporting and mentoring men, there should be no age limit. So we are not talking about young men.
No.
We are talking about male people who are aspiring to be men. These are the people we are targeting. This podcast is targeting all male persons who are aspiring to be men.
Wow. That's beautiful. And I think our commitment is, whereas we've seen the world as neglected, the boy child, the male, we're committed to reversing that. For us, we are going to concentrate on that. In fact, for us as a church, we've decided that one of our greatest pillars is to build men. We just want to build men because we know when men are built, some of these issues we are dealing with, counselings, and they become nuns that men were created to solve their problems. All they need is to be empowered.
That's
and
right.
So, and we want to concentrate on that. And we want to look at one of the last realities that crises and state of manhood that we are having in society. We've had a rise in teen pregnancy. And everyone is talking about the girl is getting pregnant, the girl is getting pregnant. and for me, it bothers me. I'm thinking, okay, the girl is getting pregnant, And I hear you. We should advocate for the girl. We should. But who makes the girls pregnant?
That's a rhetorical question first. So these girls don't eat avocado and get pregnant.
No!
They don't drink it from water. They sleep with men.
Yes.
They sleep with men, and you know the multiplier effect here. One man can get like hundreds of women pregnant, even in a single day.
That's true.
So you close the tap,
Yes.
and the tap is the men.
Yes.
Because we've talked about young men having sex for fun.
Yes.
We've talked about young men
Not
getting
committed.
into sex parties and trying to discover themselves. And one of the things they think they should do is that.
Yep.
But because they have not been taught
Yes.
to take responsibility, as soon as they get a girl pregnant,
Run away.
They flee. So you look at these young girls, lots of them pregnant, and you just cannot draw a curve and relate to any boy
No.
or any man.
No.
So I think it takes us back to growing the men and teaching them
Yeah.
their responsibility. One of the responsibilities of men is to protect.
Yes.
That's one of our God-given responsibilities
Wow.
as men,
Yes.
to protect. And I started off by saying that we don't wait for that time when we get married to start practicing
No.
protection.
Yes.
We start when we are
When we are
young.
little.
And that means we also protect our sisters.
Yes.
Okay? So the boys and the men, because some of the people who impregnate these girls are not young men.
No. They are
They
male.
they are old people.
Yes.
We have seen stories where 15-year-olds have been impregnated by 70-year-old men.
Yeah.
And these are the people that I'm talking about. The people that have not been mentored into manhood.
Yes.
They are still mere male.
Male. They are biologically born male.
Exactly. So we need to have deliberate initiatives across the country.
Yes.
This call is not just to the church. This call is not just to us. This call is to the entire country. Departments of government must have deliberate programs
Yes.
to support, to mentor,
Yes.
to teach young men their true role in society.
Yeah.
So that we can, these huge statistics where young women are losing their lives. I was reading, Pastor, in
Yes.
COVID.
Yes.
In COVID in 2021,
Yes.
31,566 teenagers got pregnant. That is an average of 1,052 girls getting pregnant every day.
Every day.
We are talking about girls aged between 15 and 19 years. And I know that my region in Busoga has been one of the most affected. Some people have made very, very unfortunate jokes. We are very fertile. That's why we are getting. But the story in Busoga is bad.
No, it's alarming.
The girls, people are literally, and it's partly concentrated with poverty.
Of course.
People are mothers, fathers are actually selling off
Yes.
their daughters.
Yes. Yes.
To early marriages.
Yes.
And the people who negotiate after they have made girls pregnant negotiate with the parents.
Yes.
They bribe parents.
They bribe the man.
And the cases are not advanced. And all that is because the fathers of the girls also
want something. They're not responsible.
But they are also not responsible.
They're not responsible.
They are not playing their role
Yes.
as fathers. They are not protecting. They are not
Protecting
shielding.
the lady.
So the problem is huge.
Yes.
The problem is huge, but it starts with handling men and helping them understand what their role is in society, their role of protection and taking responsibility and being able to play their God-given role as men.
And I think for me, one of the things I'm so excited about, Gasta, is that we're having this podcast, and this podcast is helping us realign and say that these issues in society, we shouldn't be shooting mangoes instead of shooting avocados, because that's what is happening. That everyone has pointed guns to the lady, and I'm not against that, but I'm saying no. The person we should be pointing the gun to is the what? Is the man? Is that boy? Is that male who has grown? So just a recap of this: the realities of the man is absent. We all know that many households are being raised by women. We also know that men are not being committed to relationships. It's being seen. Many single girls. In fact, just mentioning about the single girls, I've been told in Kampala and in Tinda, Nalia, when you go during lunchtime in those apartments, you'll find very many single ladies with a baby or pregnant. And you find posh cars parking during lunchtime. Why? Because men don't want to be committed into relationships. So you find one man, he has like 4 condos with 5 girls in those houses.
Wow.
And so we need to deal with this. Otherwise it will become a time bomb. It becomes a ripple effect. The beauty is this. The gospel has the solution. For me, that's the beauty. That in all this, there is hope. That our state right now where we are, there is absolute hope. Of course, we've talked about the feminist agenda and how it has demonized the man, and we want to redeem that. And then we talked about neglecting the boy. And you spoke well about that, how a boy has not been mentored. And then the teen pregnancy. What would be your parting shots when you look at the state of manhood? What would be your parting shots?
So, Pastor, I want to make an appeal to men.
Yes.
I want to make an appeal to men who have had the opportunity to be mentored, and they are playing their roles as men, to work with other men.
Yeah.
What we need to do now is to create a multiplier effect and have impact in society. So the men need to work with other men and empower other men so those men can continue to empower others.
Absolutely.
That's the only way we are
Absolutely.
going to be able to empower our children. And we need to go back to the old basics of children are grown by community. So when you see a young man in your community that seems lost, be interested as a man to have a conversation with that young man, understand where they are coming from, and support them to get on their feet and be the man that God has called them to be.
Thank you, Gasta. Thank you so much. To you, our listeners, and those that have been watching, I want to say thank you for joining us. Every first Tuesday of the month, 6 p.m., we release a podcast. We release a discussion like this that we've had every third Tuesday of the month. We make sure we release another one. This conversation is just to get us into the rhythm of the things we are going to be dealing with. The next podcast will be dealing with the realities that men are going through, the difficult things, the things that men are facing. Then after that, we'll be dealing with the early man, the man in his 1900s and the modern man today. We'll have a great discussion on that. So please share this content with the people around you, with the men around you. We want to build great men. We are committed at building great men. Because when men are better, women are better, children are better, society is better. God bless you from myself and Gasta. See you next time. Bye-bye.